Okay, so this is my consent form that Miss Sandy has signed. It says, I, Sandra, give permission to Ebony to video me, interview me for her health and aging class. And I understand that this video may be viewed by her professor and others for learning purposes and teaching purposes. Okay, so now we're going to do the video now that I have the consent form. This here is Miss Sandy, and she will be interviewed by me, Ebony, and we're going to get started.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Sandra. Miss Sandy, they call me. I'm 65 years old. I'm a senior citizen and a breast cancer survivor. I was born and raised in New York City, and I've been in Massachusetts for 7, 8 years now. Both of my parents were born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. I have one brother that's 18 months older than I am. He's also here in Massachusetts, and I'm a single parent. I was a single parent. I have one son. He's 34 years old. Yeah, he's 34. And I went to college in Raleigh, North Carolina for 2.5 years. I majored in business administration, bookkeeping, and payroll. I spent most of my career doing. What else? I had two aunts, my mother's two sisters in New York, and I took care of both of them, and they both lived to be well up in their 90s. So that was very challenging for me, because at the time I did have my son. He was young, but we managed. And they never married, they never had any children, so they were like his grandparents because he never knew his grandparents. So like I said, I took care of both of them. And when in Christmas 2008, I came here to visit my brother and my son. And I started having this pain. And I thought I had back problems. So for 9 months, I was going to chiropractors, different doctors. Nobody could diagnose this pain, but it was in my back. And I figured over the years, I did a lot of lifting, carrying heavy stuff, and taking care of these elderly aunts. And I just thought I had back problems until September 2008. I went to the GYN, and they diagnosed me with breast cancer. And that was the beginning of a long journey that I'll never forget. First, at the time, I worked at a group home at night. I did an overnight, so it wasn't too bad. The work wasn't too strenuous at night. And like I said, when I was diagnosed, I was already at stage 4, which was really bad. And the mammogram never showed the cancer, so I had to have a sonogram. Then I had chemo. Then I had a mastectomy. Then I had radiation. And all of this ended in 2010. So for 6 years now, I've been cancer-free.
So how did the treatments affect like your quality of life?
The treatment was really hard. The chemo wasn't too bad because I continued to work at that time. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. The chemo, I had to go once a week. And the next day, after the chemo, I had to also go back for a shot. I don't know if they do that now, but back then I had to go back after every chemo session. I had to go get some kind of shot. So it was a lot back and forth, back and forth. I didn't live too far from the hospital. I was up in Greenfield at the time. And my brother was really near me, so he checked on me daily. And after the chemo, I did go back to work. The hardest part, I was always cold. It was in the winter time, and I remember sleeping in wool caps because my head was cold. I lost my hair, and that wasn't so devastating because I kind of expected it. So I just basically cut it rather than go through losing a little bit every day. I just took the scissors one day and just cut it all off. After the chemo, I went back to work. The radiation was every day. Now that was challenging because I lived in Greenfield and I had to come to Springfield every day for radiation. Now the good part about that, I didn't have to drive. They had a van leaving the hospital in Greenfield to bring me and take me back every day. So it wasn't too bad, but like I said, every day. You didn't go on Saturday and Sunday, but 5 days a week I had to go. And at that time I was working, so they gave me a little time off from work in the morning so I could catch this van. And after the radiation, I lost a lot of weight and I lost the appetite. It was kind of hard. But like I said, that was just the most devastating point of my life. After that, though, I think a couple of years after that, I had this thing called vertigo, which was one day I just woke up and everything in the room was spinning. I didn't know what was going on, but I found out later that that was called vertigo. They still, I don't think, know what causes it, but it's a condition that I don't think they have a cure for either. It's just like when you get up, like if you get up really fast from a lying down position, they say you should take your time and sit on the side of the bed before you just jump right up, and that helps. But it's basically nothing you can do. I've had it twice, but I haven't had it lately. So hopefully I'm done with it.
And so is there a treatment for that?
No, not really. They told me I could get some kind of over-the-counter pills that people get for seasickness when they go on boats, ships and stuff, but I never did. I just waited. It usually lasts for about 2 days, never longer than
that. Okay, so I wanted to ask you some questions about like growing up, how life was then versus how life is now, as far as like the social aspects, the social environment, or has things changed?
Well, I don't go to New York often, and I'm never there at night. But back when I was growing up, New York City was not like it is now. I mean, there's crime everywhere and drugs, but it's just not as bad as it is now. I mean, back then people were more friendly. You trusted each other more. I wouldn't go as far to say leave my door unlocked and stuff, but basically people mind their own business, and everybody was nice. People speak to you, The neighbors looked out for the neighbors' kids and stuff, and we all played together. All the neighbor kids played together. Went to the same schools, and now people are more or less into themselves. Every time you pick up the paper or listen to the news, you hear about road rage and all of that. You didn't have all of that back then. People were more respectful of each other, and they cared more about each other's lives. Now people, I don't think, really care about life. And people don't sit down and reason their problems out. They take to guns, violence.
So I also wanted to ask you about like community. Like, so you talked about having the cancer and the treatments, but was there any community involvement? Were you linked up with any outside supports?
No, not really, because most of that happened during the day. They did give me references and stuff, but most of those groups met during the day, and I was asleep basically in the daytime because I worked nights. So by me being up all night, when I did get home, get off like, I think I used to get off like 8 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. I'd come home and go to bed, or I was going to a treatment, and then I'd come home and go to bed.
So was there anything like any therapy or any follow-up services like that to help you deal with the diagnoses?
No, I didn't. I didn't belong to any. I did have this one social worker at the hospital, and she did help me with. She helped me with the financial aspects of it because I really wasn't that familiar with the cost of the drugs. Some of the drugs is very expensive, but she did hook me up with a place, and actually the place was in New York, and all I had to do was save all my receipts for my medications and send it to them, and they reimbursed me for it. She took care of like she'd get vouchers like around holiday time, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I'd be able to go to like the big wine and get maybe $100 worth of groceries like that. But she was a social worker at the hospital, and other than her, I didn't really have any links, and I didn't basically have any help. Actually, the only person I saw during the time outside of work was my brother and my son. Those are the only two people I really dealt with.
So they were a good support system for you.
They were. They were.
And so, how did you were you ever like depressed about when you found out you had breast cancer?
Oh yes, when I first got diagnosed, I was very depressed. I called a friend of mine at the time. She's in Massachusetts. She's in Franklin now, but she was a pediatrician in New York City. And at the time, I called her, and she kind of talked with me like every day. She prayed with me, and she went through it. And she went through it when she was like maybe, I think, 18, 19 years old, very young. And she also had a mastectomy. And so she knew exactly what I was going through. And she basically, over the phone, we talked. But I didn't see her during that time.
And so that was helpful to you.
Yes, that was a good support system. She could tell me basically about any drugs I was taking. She'd ask me the name of it, and then she could basically tell me about the drug and the side effects. So she was good.
So did any of your doctors ever express any concern about you being depressed or how you were handling the diagnosis? And
did I talk to them? Not really. I had a very good nurse. I had a surgeon in Greenfield that did the mastectomy, and his nurse, she talked with me, but basically just about the surgery.
okay.
You know, she didn't go into like cancer and stuff. My what's the cancer doctor, the oncologist? I can't think of the name of it now, but my cancer doctor, he was very good. He Even now, I go to see him like once a year. I don't have to, but he left the choice up to me. So I do go see him like once a year.
So what is the follow-up process like once you've been cleared of cancer?
Well, now it's basically to just watch the other breasts, because at some point they didn't find that it was cancer, but they did find some things that they call palamones or something. I can't even pronounce it, but I did have something removed, and they just watched that breast, and I still go for mammograms. So I try to see him in the primary once a year. So I see him, and then 6 months later I'll see the primary. So that it works out, I see both of them like once a year. But it's really no follow-up. I mean, after 6 years, there's a good chance that it won't come back. But nothing's 100%.
Right.
So I reached that 6-year mark. So I can kind of breathe a little bit, but I still get nervous when I go for the mammograms until I